past few months, I have been reading a little bit less than I did last year, due to the fact that I went to like a lot this year already. I mean, I moved places, and I've just been doing a lot with friends, so there hasn't been too much time for reading. However, I do try to make time for it, obviously, because it is one of my favorite activities to do. So yeah, I have 4 books here that are physical books, and then I have 4 books on my Kindle. So yeah, I think we're just gonna go and hop right into it, and I'll start with one of the physical books. This is not in like a chronological was focusing, but just in case it did not, I will read it to you. Wait, I gasped, breaking myself away from him. My heart was quick and loud in my head. Wait, is this smart? Should we? This might be a bad idea. He froze. What? This might be a bad idea, I repeated, letting my hand unwind from his thigh. My lips felt tender, my cheeks flushed. He blinked, tonguing his bottom lip, his gaze still drunk on our kisses. You could never be a bad idea, Lemon. If you read the book, you know, but it was very sweet. So all in all, my conclusion for the first book, I would definitely recommend. It was really fun. I think I will do the books that I read on my Kindle next. If you watched me before, you already know my Kindle. This is her. She's gorgeous. I decorated it with some stickers and stuff. The first book that I read on here is a long time ago at this point. I do believe I talked about it in another video, but I'm not 100% sure, so I decided to mention it again. And that book is Picking Daisies on Sundays. I'm not sure about the author. I think Leon or something. I'll obviously blend in pictures for the books that I've read on my Kindle, and I don't have physical here with me. But that story is basically also a romance, of course, about our main character. I actually forgot her name by now, I'm so sorry, but the male main character, the MMC, his name is Levi, and hers was something I forgot, but it was a really sweet romance. They basically have been best friends for a really long time, and they lost contact a few years back, and you kind of, throughout the book, you learn why that happened. And I really liked Levi, our male main character. Sorry, I kind of struggle with that word sometimes, but I really liked him. He gave me very much so golden retriever vibes, which was very sweet and definitely nice touch to it. I usually do not really like toxic relationships, friendships. I don't know. I just really like it when it's just like open communication, and the guys are just like fun and chill and kind of like golden retrievers, I guess. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. It was really nice. I wish I could tell you more, but I kind of forgot. I mean, I read this book in the beginning of January, I'm pretty sure, so kind of lost the plot. But I do remember that I rated it a 4-star, so it was very cute. It was just like a really fluffy romance, and I really appreciated that at the time, and so I would definitely recommend. Then in the last few months, I started not one, but 2 series. The first series that I started, I believe I also said at some point, but correct me if I'm wrong, that is the Boys of Tommen series. I started with the first book, which is called Binding 13. If you're not familiar with this series, it's a 5-book series. They're all connected, so you do really should read them in the correct order. And I have always been interested in these books, but so far I haven't really gotten to them, especially because those books are ginormous. I believe they have pages of 600 to 800 pages per book. And so it's not a short story, and I would definitely, before you even think about reading those, read the trigger warnings, or try to figure out or find online what the trigger warnings are, because these books deal with a lot of very, very heavy topics, and I would not call this a romance. I would say this is like a YA something. I'm pretty sure it's like a YA series, but not necessarily sure under which category this falls, but nonetheless, I started with the first book, Binding 13, which is about our 2 main characters, Shannon and Johnny. You basically get a dual POV, which means that you follow Shannon's perspective of what's happening, as well as Johnny's, which I really liked. I always really like when books have that, and so I really, really liked that, especially because Johnny's chapters were really funny. In all seriousness, I was not was kind of harder for me. I did really like Aoife, our female main character, but nonetheless, still really good book, and I do plan to keep on reading those books, definitely. But I just took a little break from it, also due to the part that they're just like really intense. There's a lot going on, a lot of negative things, and I kind of felt that it was kind of messing with my mood. While I read these books, there were like a lot of good things happening in my personal life, and I was technically really happy, but then I'd go back to reading the books in my bed and I'd just cry because it would be so sad, and there would be such horrible things happening, which, I mean, saying it now, it kind of sounds like you shouldn't be reading the books, but they're amazing. I would definitely recommend. This is like probably, depending on how the last two books will be, but so far like one of the best series I've ever read. And I thank Chloe Walsh for that. But they did kind of mess with my mood a lot, and so I just realized that I was reading them at a point where I would have liked to be happy, but then I'd go back to my favorite hobby, which is reading, and then the book would be so sad, and then my mood would obviously dampen due to that. So I decided to, just for now, stop with the series and read something differently, because it was just too much at this point. And I was not really in a mood to keep on reading really sad books, so that was my ultimate decision for now. I'll be finishing them. Let me know your ratings if you've read these books. I'd love to talk about it, especially with like spoilers maybe, because one of the things that I love to do is spoil friends or whatever, and I know that that's like a horrible thing to do, but I'm just so excited and I can't help it. And for videos like these, obviously, I'm trying to tell you books that I really enjoyed, and if you haven't read them, I don't want to spoil you and take away the experience. So it's kind of difficult, but I think you get what I mean. Moving on to the last three books that I have for right now. The first one I already read. This is also a series. I don't know what's going on with me recently, but I've really just been enjoying series a lot, which is good, but yeah. This is actually my first fantasy series. I have never ever read a fantasy book before I started this series. Up until now I was never really drawn to it, and so I didn't get any because I didn't gravitate towards them or whatever. But these books, I think they might have changed me, in all seriousness. I'm already 100% sure that these will be one of my favorite books, or one of my favorite series. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm yapping, but without further ado, let's hop into them. I already showed this book in a book haul, but now I have all three physically also. And that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. Like I said, I've never really been too drawn to fantasy, romantasy, which is like a mix between romance and fantasy, obviously, as you can kind of tell from the name, but yeah. However, with this book, I was just kind of drawn to it. I was just like, oh, this sounds like something I could really enjoy, and so I decided to get it, obviously. I also decided to get these books in physical form because these are, in all seriousness, some of the most gorgeous covers I have ever seen. And once I finish the series, I already know I'm gonna put them somewhere around my house as decoration because they're just beautiful. I mean, this is the first book in the series, and excuse me, look at how gorgeous this is. Absolutely beautiful. These are just the normal editions, but I just think that they're really, really gorgeous. Another thing that I really love about these books is says believed in happily ever after, until she learns that the love of her life is about to marry another and her dreams are shattered. Desperate to stop the wedding and heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. I think you can already tell from that this is really high stakes, but nonetheless, such a great read. Already gave my rating for this one. I loved it. If you've read this, let's bond over it. Currently, because obviously I couldn't help myself, I'm reading the second book in the series, and I feel like the more, like, the books just keep getting more beautiful. I mean, also look at this one. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the dark red. I think it's just extremely beautiful. Chef's kiss, seriously, gorgeous. As you can tell, I'm not finished yet. I am on page 272. I believe all of these books, at least the first 2, have exactly 402 pages, so I believe that the third probably also, but yeah, might not. So I have like 120 pages left to read. I don't know when I'll finish it, I have to see. I have a lot of plans for this week, besides working full time, but I'll try to make space for it and finish it. But I love it so much. I will probably either give it a 4.5 or a 5 star, I'm not sure yet, but I do really, really enjoy it. I love everything that's going on, and it's just fantastic. If you've not read this, read it, especially if maybe you think fantasy would not be something that you would enjoy. I mean, I thought that before I read this, and I don't know, I think my world has forever been changed, because seriously, I have never ever read a fantasy book, not even when I was a child or anything. I was not much into reading back then, so this is really a first for me. But yeah, really, really gorgeous. Very excited to finish this one, and then obviously I had to, already know what's coming. Had to get the third one. This is completely unread. I just purchased it today. Also, extremely gorgeous cover. I mean, look at this. Gorgeous. I'm really, really excited. I don't want to read the blurb, because I don't want to spoil myself. I'm not sure if there are even spoilers, but I just don't want to risk it. And yeah, I love it. I love these books. Stephanie Garber, The Woman That You Are. I don't know, maybe someone will comment this if you've read the books, that technically you're supposed to start with the Careful series, but I didn't know that, and here I am. Nonetheless, I think it's a really, really amazing series. I totally recommend. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just like yapping so much about these books, but I just love them. One last thing I do have to show you. Just look how gorgeous they look next to each other. I mean, beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, I am finished yapping. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please, please make sure to thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you would like to hang out with me again. But yeah, that's it for today's video.